Hello, this is Olivia Robinson, and I welcome you to the magical world of the Temple of Alchemy. Let us enter. Try and imagine yourself now in a temple of alchemy. The temple is beautiful and circular, with the everlasting flame of all that is. Vesta is in the center, and round it are 12 porticos of the signs of the zodiac. The priest of alchemy wears flowing golden robes striped with red on this occasion, and he addresses the twin apprentices, Aidan and Elaine. Are they really twins? They're spiritual twins. Without the exercise of free will, with the honor of choosing, we are as marionettes, our strings pulled by every passerby. To learn discrimination in choosing, we need to invoke the wise goddess Beltis of Carthage, Queen of Heaven. She administers justice with her right hand uplifted. Her left hand protects victims, pointing downwards. And now we observe a beautiful statue that is unveiled. And also, we notice by the statue is a living figure seated on some sort of stool, surrounded by beautiful flowing robes of gold and scarlet. The Scarlet Lady. The priestess alchemist, in flowing gold and scarlet, steps forward and raises her wand before the altar of Vesta. Divine Goddess Beltis, millions of your devotees in ancient Africa and Troy invoked your aid. In hymns to you they chanted that you fed the hungry with good things and denied those who had excess. They sang that you saved the poor who were treated cruelly and brought to justice the rich who were tyrants. Teach us to use both our hands, light and darkness, right and left, that we may balance justice with compassion. Now we are aware we may receive the oracle when the gods speak through her entranced priestess. I'm amused when I see into your minds. You realize that while millions of men, women and children starve, too many of you have an obesity problem. You have clergy as ministers to your armed forces, yet you torture helpless prisoners. You send thieves to prison, but your financial institutions gamble away billions. Oh yes, we gods are eternal, we know, we look. Through selfishness, stupidity and greed, you are destroying your planet. You are poisoning the air, the earth and the oceans. You are misusing fire. You spend millions causing an explosion on the moon and try to make an imitation of what you term the Big Bang, which you think started creation. Some of you wisely turn to the goddess by whatever name you use, because you need an entirely different way of viewing reality. You may wish to save the earth by rising above this material plane, or your vocation may be through active service. I have two arms, one upraised heavenwards, the other drawing life from the depths. Whatever you choose, you will fulfill your destiny to awaken into eternal life. The priest alchemist speaks. We give thanks to the goddess Beltis for her oracle. The priestess alchemist steps forward and speaks kindly to Elaine. Elaine, you know you're apt to rush into adventures and are upset when the consequences take a turn opposite to what you desired. Are you willing to face the choice offered by Beltis? Elaine looks interested. Yes, I do need to look before I leap. Yes, I accept the challenge. The priestess alchemist nods her head seriously. So be it. She hands Elaine a tarot card from the Marseille pack. What does this card mean? Elaine carefully examines the card. Oh, here is Beltis. She is winged and wears a strange robe, half deep blue, half scarlet. Her inner gown is yellow. With her left hand she is pouring water from a blue jar into a red jar held by her right hand. Oh, I suppose that's compassion, sort of blending with justice. She's in a desert. Wonder what that means. Here is the balance. It's called temperance. A temperance of repose and activity, I expect. Princess Alchemist smiles. You are prepared to enter trance. We will be with you, but we may not help you. Now, do we enter into trance when we become incarnate on Earth and can't be helped? I wonder. Anyway, on this occasion, why not join Elaine in trance? Elaine lies down on a couch and folds her arms over her breast. She becomes very still. The Scorpio realm should be exciting. Oh, I'm mounting the hill of the temple, and I enter it. It's like this temple here, but more luminous, more beautiful, more real. I pay my respects to this sacred altar of Vesta, holding my hands before her. Oh, I do like the entrance to Scorpio. It's easily found. It's right near the other side. Above is its earlier representation in Babylon, an eagle with outspread wings. I prefer that. One of the 4 cherubs. I must, of course, not be afraid of passing through, but Scorpio has an alarming reputation. I part the heavy indigo curtains, and I pass through the portico. This is delightful. I'm in Arcadia. The god Apollo is approaching me from a small asphodel-covered hill. A very delightful small temple. He's not as usually depicted, but I know he's Apollo, Phoebus. He has fairly long, untidy fair hair blown by the wind. His face is Slav, with magnetic grey eyes, slightly slanting, that are not human. And his mouth is wide and laughing, deeply indented at the corners. And he is laughing at me. He can read my thoughts. Well, what do I expect? You think I'm ugly, yet they say I'm the most beautiful of the gods. Anyway, here I am. I'm going to introduce you to one of our greatest dramas, which involves gods and men, and goddesses and women. This shall be a reenactment, alternative reality, a projection. You are to take the role of my protégée, the prophetess Cassandra. It really involves a tremendous choice she had to make. What was that, I asked? Was it about her prophecies that no one would believe? Not exactly. When the god Zeus, backed by his consort Hera, commanded that the gods should not interfere in the Trojan War, Cassandra, like a good woman and priestess, obeyed him. Surely that was correct, I said. One should not intervene in evolving cultures. That's imperialism. Ah, but hers was a terrible choice. But Cassandra had the gift of prophecy, remember, and she was a Trojan princess. She loved her family and her fellow Trojans, and was patriotic about Troy. Because the Greeks conquered Troy, her whole family were either slaughtered or taken into slavery, including herself. She was transported by Agamemnon and then got murdered by Clytemnestra. The entire city of Troy, outpost of the great African Carthaginian Empire in Africa, was destroyed. Yet she could have prevented this catastrophe through using the gift of Beltis. She could read minds. It's quite unusual. Now, Elaine, in this reenactment, you are Cassandra, and you face this dilemma. Either you follow the choice made by the original Cassandra and obey Zeus, in which case, heartbroken, you'll be murdered by the jealous wife of your captor, Queen Clytemnestra, or you choose other means. I explain, nothing could be worse than what did happen. Anyway, it's not my temperament to put up with evil if I can prevent it. So here goes. I shall intervene whatever Zeus commands. Oh, that's a... Oh. And here as well, apparently. Would you do this? Just pause for a minute. Would you alter the outcome? Because every alternate reality is just as real. The scene changes. I find myself lighting incense in my temple of Beltis. I pick up a screen crystal and gaze intensely into it. You look into a crystal too. I find myself in the room of Troy's captive queen, the queen of Sparta herself, most beautiful woman in the world, or the known world then. Helen, Queen Helen. I'm awestruck to see her. But then I'm Cassandra, not at all awestruck, just annoyed. And I'm astonished at what I learn. Helen is consumed with rage because Hecuba, Queen of Troy, refuses to accept the legitimacy of Helen's son, born from Prince Paris of Troy. Helen is called a courtesan queen, and her son a bastard. Now I'm overwhelmed by her desire for revenge, and the awful thing is I'm beginning to feel furious. I don't quite know why. How dare Hecuba deny my son, calling him a bastard? But I still try and withdraw from being too much like Helen. She's Greek and so very clever. I read her mind. I feel for her. And so I know her plan. She's already stirred up resentment against the royal family through her order of Beltis, a feminine order. Their plan is this. Helen will secretly summon to Troy the cleverest of the Greeks, Odysseus, whose father was a princely thief. In the Isle of Ithaca, he was famous for being a thief. Odysseus is to be disguised as a beggar. He'll be helped into the sanctuary of the Palladium that held the luck of Troy. The Palladium, this is an archaic figure, I gather, of the many-breasted Earth Mother, and whoever holds it rules the world. He would steal this, thus shattering the morale of the Trojan populace, already tired of this long war. The Greeks would prefer to leave, hiding their ships behind an island. They pretend to be leaving, you see. Then the dissident Trojans would open the gate by the Wooden Horse Tavern. They would creep through the gate at night with stolen keys and kill the drunken Trojans, celebrating the Greeks' departure. Some of the wine being, of course, poisoned by members of the Order of Beltis, the women. What a horrible plan, really. I never quite saw it like this before. I thought they were heroes. I think it's cowardly, but I must stop being modern. According to Homer's The Iliad, the plan was successful. The city fell, and the royal family were slaughtered along with most of their subjects. Women were always trophies and carried off as mistresses and so forth. Helen was brought back to Sparta with honor. Helen, who'd done all that, taken back with great honor. I remember all the horrors inflicted on the Trojans, so graphically described by poets, especially the fate of the Trojan woman. I'm really getting identified with Cassandra. She's rather like me. In a wave of emotion, I decide to disobey Almighty Zeus and intervene in this sage. I have some dim memory of the god Apollo telling me about it. So, as Cassandra, I inform the Trojan higher command of the Greek plot. Drastic action is taken at once. Helen is hanged, along with the disguised Odysseus. Oh dear, this I had feared, rather. But I'm horrified by the behaviour of my own Trojans, infuriated by the revealed cunning and dishonourable plot. They become cunning and dishonourable themselves. Well, dishonourable anyway. They make a savage attack on the Greeks at night when they slept. They got hold of where they were, behind this island where they were hid. Got to them. At night, they creep out of the city, get into boats, and find the hiding Greeks, and rape and kill their women. I myself sailed from Troy to be Queen of Carthage, with its future ruler, my cousin, Prince Aeneas. For, heartened by the Trojan success, the Carthaginians managed to conquer all the Greek islands and mainland, helped by some Dorians who turned up. Oh, however, as for me, the fates had the last word. Instead of becoming Queen of Carthage, when I arrive in the palace, I'm stabbed to death by the jealous Queen Dido, who fancied Aeneas for herself. I hear in the distance the voice of Apollo. The Trojan poet Anchises wrote a compassionate play of the Greek women about their sufferings at the hands of the Trojans. He later produced an epic of immense length, The Trojan Victory. I fear the birth of Greek civilization was stillborn. I feel utterly ashamed. I hear the kindly voice of Apollo. Never mind, Elaine. You meant well. But still utterly ashamed, I burst into tears. Then suddenly there's a flash of white light. I hear a silvery woman's voice. Elaine, by refusing to obey the god Zeus because you felt compassion, you have become his daughter, not his servant. You have always been my own daughter. Don't you remember me? I am Hera, Queen of Heaven, whom you call Beltis. I suddenly feel the most wonderful feeling of joy, and silvery light is surrounding me. I slowly return from trance, and I know now that compassion and justice are with Hera and Beltis, and I have learnt this myself. When I come to, I won't accept a degree. Elaine slowly comes back. I feel I'm Elaine almost, I'm sure you do. And everyone in the group share their reports and tell helpful rays of justice combined with compassion to the world. We do need it. Justice and compassion. And thanks are given to the deities. So now I'd like you, like me, just to think of your own life. It's not compassionate to let other people bully other people. So how to be just and strong and yet compassionate. So you don't stand aside from evil, but you do help people who are doing wrong by bringing them compassion for them as well. No one needs help more than bullies. I'm Olivia Robertson, and I want to introduce you to the alchemy of Scorpio. So here we get to it. To find the flower of life, plant the root, and the roots are in the black earth. The priestess of alchemy addresses the twins again, Aidan and Elaine. To attain the heights of spirit, you need to sink into the depths. Otherwise you will find but withered flowers cut for display. To discover the balance between light and darkness, we need to invoke the aid of the goddess Pele of Polynesia. A priestess alchemist raises her staff. I invoke thee, Pele, goddess of fire, yet you temper the scorching volcano with the onrushing sea, and so provide lava which brings us fertile islands. We humans are destroying ourselves, our own home, this earth, to through exploitation of her sacred elements. Tell us, even at this last hour, how we may save both ourselves and our planet. Priestess in trance is wearing beautiful flame-coloured robes, and for a long time she's silent, and we're afraid we won't get a message, and certainly a severe one. The onrush of genius inflaming the human psyche is like a tidal wave. It overwhelms all that stands in its way, and shall not be denied. All that is comes from what is believed, thought, and imagined. Mightier minds, greater imagination, control what is upon every planet. Friends, when you feel lifeless, bored, subject to every fluctuation of health and emotion, and are controlled by others, you lack genius. Animals have this naturally. They leave an oncoming tidal wave, a volcanic outpouring by intuition. They obey their inner genius and get out of the way of danger. Only ambitious humans wish to conquer nature through artificial laws which they claim to be natural, but in truth are but the projections of the human intellect. Have hope and joy. You have no conception of the glorious life which dawns in you when you awaken to your own genius. You shall co-create with deities as you harmonize ether and air, fire, water and earth. You shall add to the creations of your great poets and artists and musicians. You will have learned the way of living eternally in the sphere around you and explore the multi-dimensional cosmos. Priest Hierophant speaks. We give thanks to the goddess Pele for her unexpected oracle which uplifts us all. The priestess alchemist addresses Aidan. Aidan, you have always followed your genius. Your erratic behavior marks you out as original. Both you and Elaine have been said to have genius. Why not explore what this means? A democratic gift available to everyone, including meerkats and extraterrestrials and dolphins and orchids. Are you willing to undergo the initiation of genius? Aidan, I like the sound of this. It's eccentric. Like a spirit materializing from a bottle or a lamp. I'm on. Priestess alchemist smiles rather strangely. Good. We can promise you an interesting time. She hands him a tarot card from the Marseille deck. What do you see in this card? Aidan looks at it carefully and upside down and round about everywhere. I don't see much evidence of excitement, of brilliance. Rather the reverse. Authority, order. It is number 8, and I see the goddess of La Justice. In her right hand she holds an upheld sword. In her left some odd sort of lube. Not a noose, I hope. Before her are scales. Sounds to me like belches. Her robes alternate between blue and red. She's crowned with gold. And I see, like the magician La Force, she has an awakened crown center. Gold flames emanate from her crown. When you see these are in the path, you know you're true to an enlightened being. This suggests that life energy derives from their balance, sword and cup, fire and water, air and earth. It's alchemy. He suddenly looks cheerful, I know. Don't you feel this is going to be exciting? It's always fun with Aidan, anyway. Priestess alchemist. You are ready to enter trance. We shall be with you, but not help you, whatever happens. Aidan, I don't like the sound of that, but you do say this should be interesting. So let us enter trance with Aidan. I almost run up the hill, longing to find genius. I pay my respects to the central flame in the temple of the zodiac. I rush in. I even make the flames flutter. And I find the portico of Scorpio. It's much as Elaine described, with a flying eagle overhead. except that a very large scorpion is depicted gazing from a hole with insect eyes. Don't like things that look at you from holes. I avoid its eyes and hastily I get through the gateway to get away from them. Oh, this is nice. This is my scene. I find myself in a pleasant Thai restaurant. Judging from the canned ukulele music, I'm in Hawaii. Also the clientele, who are large, pink-faced tourists with loud voices, are wearing lurid shirts covered with girls and palm trees. The waitresses are dressed up in lay flower garlands, and the waiters wear sarongs, showing themselves for money. I suppose I must endure this to gain my goal. I might get genius by describing it. I remember in time that there's always a catch in these scenes. The people may not be as stupid and boring as they're pretending to be. Certainly not a woman, seated in a corner under a poster advertising a hotel beach. She's watching her fellow customers as if she really found them of interest. Is she Polynesian? She has raven black curls pulled back and cascading down her red dress. Her face is aristocratic, with straight black brows and a wide, generous red mouth indented at the corners. One thing puzzles me. She's barefooted. Why did the cafe owner let her in? They don't usually. Suddenly I feel embarrassed. She has noticed my scrutiny and waves me to a chair at her table. For a moment, I don't know why, but I feel trepidation. Then, of course, I join her. She really has the most magnetic eyes. They seem to become fiery like hot coals, beginning to feel dizzy. From far off, I hear a waiter's voice. "What is your order, sir?" I must have fainted. I find myself falling through my chair and into the blackness of night. I must be having a heart attack. I grope wildly with my hands, but can find nothing to hold. Are you falling too? I know I am. I seem to be falling indefinitely. To my alarm, I realize, or my soul is descending through the earth itself, which has become transparent. Now there's light, but a dreadful lurid light of fire. I pass a rocky shore of a bituminous green lake. Oh, there is an inhabitant, a bizarre creature, silver and green. His face is that of a reptile. I said polite thoughts because I realize he's intelligent. For what seems miles, I continue falling, until I find myself within the fiery vortex of the earth. My body must endure this. I have another sort of body. I had read that the inner sun of Earth is as bright as the surface of our sun in the sky. I can only exist here because I notice I have a glowing energy body. This terrifying experience comes to an abrupt halt. Of all things, I hear the murmur of women's voices. I find myself in a small sun. I have companions. There are some women here. Well, not exactly women. I censor my thoughts to avoid antagonizing them. They really are weird, though. I ask the obvious question. Who am I? One of the women, who is an aged crone, answers me in the instructive tone of a schoolmistress. You are at present within an etheric Gaussian layered plasmic vortex. They can enter your body as a sphere of light, or you can find yourself inside one, which is where you are now. Is all this real? It's as real as your own world. Rather, it is more real, interrupted a small woman. Curiously, she reminds me of my old friend, the red-haired witch. I mean, which is more real, you having an intelligent conversation with us, or sitting in a cafe, criticizing your fellow tourists? Why am I here? The first aged lady speaks. To answer that very question, you are here to honor the above and the below in equal measure, and to bring the understanding to those who still live in the opposites. thus creating endless warfare within themselves. The lady who speaks I recognise as the woman in the red dress at the cafe. A third woman speaks. She feels more like me, a seeker. She's rather like Elaine. I'm glad she's here. Put it this way. To gain the flower of immortality, you may choose between a beautiful golden flower, shining green foliage, or a root. Which would you choose? I don't know what the root will bring forth. It could be a poisonous plant. The foliage gives shade and food, the flower spiritual beauty. I know the obvious thing, which most people do, would be to choose the root, which brings forth foliage and flower. But I choose the flower because, yes, it contains the seeds of life, which in turn becomes roots. In any case, I know what I'm getting. Yes, says the woman in the cafe, but all exists simultaneously. There is no beginning and no end. The root and the flower and the seeds are one. We are the fates. Past, present and future are one. The sacred elements are one. The above and the below are one. And the girl like the red-haired witch says, center point is omnipresent. Deity is everywhere. And so when you touch the divine, you are everywhere. You are in all time. And the woman like Elaine says, it's all very simple. It's a cycle, clock with no hands. The black hole swallows up the stars and they are reborn in another continuum, in the divine spiral of the cosmos. That is what is happening to you. It is wonderful. What do you really long for? You will find it. I say, I have found you. I find myself rising up through the earth, and I reach the Milky Way, and I wrap it around me as a starry robe. Join him there with the stars about you. And I hear a man's voice. What is your order, sir? Have I become a god to order what I want? With a jerk I'm back at the cafe, while the lady in red watches me with a smile. The waiter is asking for my order. I've had my adventure between seconds, and I've met Pele. We feel the sheer happiness of Aidan, who's at last found what he seeks, and is at rest. He returns from trance excited, full of ideas about vortices and black holes and the cosmos and how he's been down one and seen a reptilian and got on with him. He gets on with everything. He accepts his degree happily, reports a share, and loving cheerful thoughts of genius are sent forth to all. Everybody is a genius if they only find their real self. So I suggest, as we give thanks to the deities, and just are prepared to find our own hidden talent. Genius. What could you do? You could do anything. The first step is to find your own genius. But the most important one is the second step, to acknowledge the genius in others. Let us now enjoy genius, whether it's ours or everybody else's.